you're going to get to a point in your life where people are going to look up to you and say, wow, I wish I was like that. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. But you're not going to feel like the hero. You're still going to feel like yourself. And you're never going to feel like that hero. So this is the book I'm reading. You can check it out if you want. So it's called The Body, I think. But basically, it talks about, it's basically peeling apart everything that your body does and your mind does. I'm only like a chapter in, but it talked about how all the dust, this, is just my dead skin cells. Like 90% of it is dead skin cells. And every month, I wrote this shit down. Every single month, what is it? Oh, you lose your entire shell. Like, you go through an entire metamorphosis every month. And every hour, 1,000,000 shreds of your dead skin just, like, you just shed it. And that was fucking disgusting when I read that, honestly.
So you're basically like a snake, like shedding his skin, or like literally a reptile. And I think that's why, like, a lot of people, like, categorize ourselves as reptiles. Like, we came from reptiles.
Literally.
There's even, like, a big, like, conspiracy that, like, we were ruled by reptiles, and that the higher class is, like, morphing. All
that shit. Damn, like, we're getting conspiracies right there.
Morphing
right
reptiles
from the get-go.
That do, like, rituals and spiritual stuff. And, like, you know, like, I think there was, like, a Tom Cruise movie where, like, they actually show, like that, like, conspiracy where, like, they're doing rituals with the higher ups, and like they're like mutating reptiles and stuff like that. Which was like, I was reading it and watching it, and it was like, it's just like so much unbiased, like it's so much bias and like ungrounded origins that I was like, like if you had like more origins to it, maybe like I can buy into this shit, but like where did you come up with this?
Dude, they get fucked. Well, the problem with the conspiracies is like, they're so fucking just, they're so biased with their evidence, and then when there's like counter evidence, they literally just like, nah, that's not real. Like when they say, all right, well, NASA, and they're like, well, NASA's not real, and you're like what the fuck are we supposed to do if you say NASA's not real? You know, like that's where all the evidence is, you know.
But see, like, but then like if they said like something like the argument, like, have you witnessed the Earth being round? Like, obviously I've seen pictures. But like especially in today's days, I can forge a picture. Now there's Photoshop, there's multiple visual graphic, programs and applications where like you could create an image. Like majors are for it. Gaming, everything. So obviously like they can replicate an image of what they see fit.
Right.
And especially with the idea like of American society and conditioning, making like if they want you to believe in something, they just have to show you something over and over again until you believe in it. True. And that's what a famous Hollywood director said, Aaron Russell. And so like if someone told me that, okay, like, yeah, they're like, for some, they say like the conspiracy theory of the Earth is flat, and I was like, no, the Earth is definitely round. They were like, how do you know that? I was like, obviously I seen pictures, I seen NASA did like go into space and stuff like that, but did I see that personally? Well, no.
Right.
Like, did they fabricate that information for me through media? That's definitely a possibility, especially with our track record with media and how they program us to think and and believe certain things. I was like, okay, that's okay. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, that could be a possibility. Like, through media, I might have been programmed to think and feel a certain way, and they conjured up an image, a social construct for me that made me believe in this, way. But then you can also argue, like if you go in a plane and how a plane goes up, like a plane doesn't go straight when you're flying through the air to go to your destination. It goes up and then goes down, showing that it's a round shape trajectory. So then you can argue that. So it's really like back and forth. But like, you can't talk to someone who's already closed their mind to other possibilities.
Yeah.
And when you talk to people with conspiracy theories, like, they already closed their minds. So really, like, it's just going in one ear and out the other ear. That's why I don't really talk about that kind of stuff, because like you don't have any room for change, or different mind. Like you already came up with your conclusion. Like, I'm not gonna try. Like, if you already came up with your conclusion, I'm not gonna like spit my facts and waste my time. I'm just wasting my precious time, my precious information. I was like, dude, I could be doing something totally better with my time and energy. Like, because I would not be able to convince you regardless of what I'll say and like what I do. So now, like, I'll let you believe what you want, and I believe in what I want. You know what I'm saying? And like, honestly, I feel like, if you want to prove like something, like for example, like if you want to prove like the Earth is round, why the fuck does someone not just go on a fucking boat and just go around the world, like, or like someone like, why
Because
don't
you gotta do it. You
yeah,
gotta
they
actually
gotta
do it.
and like
That's
nobody
the
want to
problem.
do it. I was like, especially all these conspiracies, like just do it then. Show us, show me this shit is flat. Go somewhere, go like, go to that waterfall that just dipped down.
Bro, could you imagine if, because there's art. There's like, if you've seen the art pieces where they depict that,
Yeah, and, like,
that
it
would be
goes down.
insane if you looked and you're just like, that's space or something. I don't know where it would go. Like all the water just falls off falls off the little.
Like how does water sustain itself?
Yeah, well, the whole concept of conspiracy in general, or just being closed-minded, sucks because it's exactly what it says, closed-minded. Like you can't get through no matter what you say. The best thing you can do, because what I think, people who are closed-minded, I think they're just people who are rebellious in nature and are very stubborn once they have come to their own maybe come to their own conclusion. Maybe they just like heard it and they believed it, but they got their own conclusion and they're not willing to change, because most people who try and change conspiracy theorists, like they'll throw all these facts and be like, okay, because of these things, like you're wrong. And that's a horrible way to try and convince someone, because it doesn't work. Even if they were just a normal person, you doing that, it's not going to work for the most part. If you just like outline some things and put it in a way, or like offer the information in a way where it's almost a question that they need to answer now, then that gets their mind thinking. They go, okay, well, how could I make this statement true or false? And they start to like really think in their head instead of just like reciting the fucking Wikipedia article they read about reptiles.
So basically, it will be less persuasive, but more
I think
informational.
so. I mean, if
Maybe
every
more
time, like
informational.
Hannah, my sister, the most stubborn girl in the world. She thinks she knows everything. She knows a good bit, actually, for being 18. She knows a lot, but whenever I try and explain a concept to her, I never, when your parents used to explain something, that's just the way it is, or like that's just
exactly.
it, and that's like the old generation's way of doing it. But I think there's so much better way, because I'm like, okay, if the answer is what I know is correct and Hannah's wrong, if that's the facts, there's a way that I can say it where it doesn't shoot down her opinion. It doesn't it makes her feel heard and doesn't make her feel stupid. I'm like, look, I get where you're coming from. I understood. I thought that way too. Here's a few reasons why I think this angle might actually be more true. And like, what do you think about it? And usually they'll be like, well, actually, that's a pretty good angle. Then I'll outline some ways that it can like, oh man, I don't even know. I guess I would have to get specific if I was going to like explain this better. I don't know if she wants me outing her like that, but I mean, yeah, basically you just outline it in a way where it can almost help them to agree with you, and it's like
Do
psychology.
it for the fans.
Yeah, well, it's like psychology. Like it's reverse psychology. Anytime I want to get my sister and be like, "Yo, I know you think you're right, but I'm fucking right. Like, listen, I'm right," and like I'll explain it in a really good way. And I guess I picked it apart so much for me that I'm like, okay, this definition or this answer has to work. Like it's foolproof. Like I plugged all the holes. There's no way this couldn't be right. And like sometimes people get pissed about that, but if they're reasonable, like Hannah's not closed-minded to it, she's just stubborn.
But don't you think that's because you know her though, that you could do it that way, that you can break it apart and like give it into a way that she will find it informational, but also not rejecting her own ideas? Because I feel like if you did the same way before just a random person, there might not be receptive to the same type of.
Yeah, no, they might not be. I know for a fact with Hannah, that's the best way to do it for her, and like she respects my opinion because like her and I are very similar, but I'm like 2 years ahead of her, just like, or I'm 5 years ahead of her, but like mentally and like
You really
spiritually
try
and
to
all
bring
stuff.
that down.
No, listen, I'm only like a couple years ahead of her because when she was 18, when she hit 18, like last week, she knew as much as I did about like life and like spiritual stuff that I learned when I think I learned all that stuff when I was like 20 or 21. So she's like 2 years ahead of the curve. Like I didn't like, she has like weird concepts and things that like only people who've done like acid, like you and Hannah both have like these grand ideas and profound like thought experience you do, and like you think about the world in a certain way that most people don't. And for her to get it at like 18, like she's always thought like that, and I didn't really think about that until like way later in life. So her and I see eye to eye on a lot of things now, even though I'm 5 years older than her. And somehow you see eye to eye on a lot of that stuff, you having no psychedelic experience, but you want to. Like,
I think for Hannah, like it was for me. Like I thought about the world so much to a point where like I got, in a sense, distracted. I guess I became very narrow, not even narrow-minded. I guess I wasn't really looking at the world around me because of these obsessions of like purpose and like worldly things and like all like all these things that I wanted to know about. Like I felt like I had to find an answer to every little thing. I put meaning to every little thing. I would put meaning into my water bottle or like my phone or like just anything. I was like, it has to have a meaning to it. Even me painting my nails, like it has to have some sort of meaning. Like I just don't paint my nails like blue just because of the hell of
Why are they
it.
blue? Why are they
Because
blue?
freedom.
Why are they chipped?
Why they chipped?
Why they
Because
chipped?
of my lazy personality.
Same.
And so, but then I kind of regressed. And I think for Hannah, like, I feel like that probably happened to her too. Like, typically, like, people associate regression in a bad way. But in this sense, I think it's a good way because I think life is way more simpler than a lot of people make it out to be. And I think a lot of people, especially in our today's society, are so obsessed with these scientific theories, that are, like, always changing and that are never, like, proven. And like I remember watching, it was Philadelphia something. I don't know if you ever seen that show.
Philadelphia what?
Philadelphia.
Oh, is it like Sunny Day in Philadelphia
Yeah,
or something?
Sunny Day
Like
in
something like that?
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And like there was this episode where like there was a car crash. And like instead of going to lawyers and stuff because they all had track records, one had like illegal guns in his car, and another person like had like sexual conduct shit that he can like bring to. So they were like, oh yeah, let's handle this like within our group. So they had like an indoor trial for themselves with just like their friends and family.
Oh shit! That's what the whole thing's about?
Yeah.
It's a movie?
No, it's a show.
Oh, it's a
This
show?
is the one of the skits
Oh,
they
okay,
did.
okay.
And so like it got to a point where like, they were disproving each other with this and this. And this one guy said something and they were like, well, you're not credible. They were like, why is he not credible? Because he believed that in some way, shape, or form, if a male and a female had sex, they could somehow genetically modify a human being to have mutant abilities. And
Wait, hold on. Wait, say it again. What did you say?
and so like he agreed with one person about the crash. He's like, no, you're right. He's at fault. So he's like, I'm going to vote for you for like this trial, like their fake trial. And then someone was like, no, you're not credible at all. And like, why? And like they were like, why is he not credible? And he said, earlier he said that you could, if a male and female mate, they can genetically modify. There's a possibility that you genetically modify their baby into being like a mutant and like have like powers. And so he was like, I never said that.
Yeah.
When did I say that? Oh no, that's preposterous. I was just fucking around. That was just all jokes and games. We had a couple drinks. That was nothing.
Right.
And so everybody's like, oh yeah, that's plausible. And then like one guy was like, wait, hold up. And he was like, why do you think that's not possible? Like genetically, modifying and everything. He's like, oh, that's because I don't believe in evolution. And everybody was like, fuck this bullshit. He was like, whoa. He was like, he ain't credible. He doesn't believe in evolution. They were like all flipping shit. And so they took his name off the board because he's not credible.
Man, fucked himself.
And so they the person who was the cause of the crash, he pulled him to the side, and he was like, "Okay, man, we have to make you more credible, bro. Like you have to be on my side. We have to make you more credible." And he's like, "Okay, give me some time."
Right.
And he's like, "Give me some time." And so he came back 3 hours later. They're like, "Where the fuck you go for 3 hours?" And he's like, "I'm gonna prove." Like how like I'm credible. They was like, okay, let's hear like this is why evolution is a bitch. And so he pulls out this board and like he's gonna talk about evolution and he's like why evolution is a bitch. And so he had like the Almighty God, what he believes in, and then like science and evolution. And then like I forgot all the theories he talked about, but like he was like, okay, first there was like Aristotle, he came up with like this concept or like theory. And then there was like after Aristotle there was like Galileo. And he disproved that. So he's like, so Aristotle is a bitch because like his shit was fake. Like his shit his shit was not true because it was disproven because the theory is not something that's proven. It's just an idea that's placed until someone disproves it. And so he was like, so he's a bitch. Then Galileo said something. And then Einstein came and disproved that. So Galileo is a
Oh, I see what
bitch.
you're saying. I see what
And
you're
so
saying.
like everything's been disproven. And so like, like he was just talking about how theories are just like fake shit that people disprove all the time and can't be reliable. And so like one guy was like, so why you believe in the Holy Bible? Like was people that you never met wrote
Thousands of
Bible,
years ago.
wrote this stuff. And there was like he was like, okay, so like, what about you? Like, why, like, you believe in like just numbers that people write in this like scholarly article? Like, did you like look up the numbers yourself? He's like, but these are scholarly articles. These are what people write. So, but like, did you do the numbers? Like, did you do the research? Like, aren't you believing in people that you never met that wrote this shit probably like 100, 200 years ago that's just been refined over like, a century? He was like, yeah, and I'm credible because
Yeah.
like that's the you're just tossing the same coin. And so we dive into these beliefs that like we're obsessed with these ideas and theories, and that we're become narrow view where life is more simpler than we can think. And I think because we think about like, what purpose do we have, like why we're in this, like this could be like a simulation, we put so much stress on ourselves, and like our like reason of being, and like that, create so much chaos within ourselves, and we become not just narrow-minded, like, and like discard the happiness just around us because we're searching for all these stuff. We're always searching for something, like searching for love, searching for respect. We always stress that I between us, where like if you change it to I to you and look around you, maybe like you'll feel better. For example, like slowly going off tangent, but going back to like what I was talking about, like saying like if I wanted you to love me, you probably won't love me because I'm forcing that on you.
True.
If I wanted you to respect me, you probably would not respect me. If I want you to show me chastity, like you probably would not show me that. But if I reverse that to I to you, if I showed you love and I gave you love, you rejected it, okay? But who can stop me? I can still do it. If I wanted to give you respect, who can stop me? If I want to give you love, who can stop me? No one can stop me because I'm just giving out. I can give out as much as I want, but I can also take back as much as I want too. If you don't want it, that's fine. I can pour it into all the shit around me, and that's just fine. And so, like, just going back to what I was saying, like, this thing about how life is more simple and how we're just stressing about the unknowingness, where we should just look at what we have within our life. Life is just like a rock that's thrown in the water. Once you throw a rock in the water, it flows through, like, the water flows through the rock. The rock's not doing anything.
True.
Just like the rock, we should let life flow through us. Not really searching for anything, but let things come our way. Like things gravitate to us. Let the universe, God, or wherever you believe in, bring things into your path and you intersect. And like just like the rock, we're passing. We're just flowing through life, and things naturally come to us. We naturally understand us, and like people just need to understand, life is just about living a life that you're happy with, a life that you don't regret. This is not a finite game. Like this is not a finite game. But yeah, exactly. This is an infinite game. Like there's no end. Like there's no end, like end of the book. There's no like end of the game. There's no like sequel or anything like this. There have been many people who've been playing this game called life, and there have many people who died from it. Nobody understands the whole spectrum of everything. There's not one person who came close to understanding this world, let alone understanding themselves. Many of the people who are famous have regrets about the things they've done, the things they didn't do, the things they didn't know, that they become obsessed and became like known as mad people, like mad, And so really it's just about planning something so beautiful in your life, and that sparks change. That like your own history making, you spark change for yourself and the people around you. And that's kind of like my mindset now. Instead of like looking out and searching for all this stuff and looking like around me for all these like unknown, I just look what I have within me. I look at the people around me. I look at life around me. I look at how colorful this world is, and like what I have within here and what I could do with what I have to spark life and change for myself. And so that's why I feel like, as Hannah, as you, as anybody, as grows older, you realize that, it's just you're living for your life only. You're not going to understand like the grand scheme of shit, and you shouldn't. You know, that's not meant for us. And like, it's like whatever you believe in, and that's it. And so just live for yourself and live in that moment for yourself. And like, yeah, like you go question some stuff, you know, stuff you should probably question. But like in the whole grand scheme about all this other shit, like I stopped thinking about that shit because that just stresses on the I of who I am. And like, I'm never going to understand that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's facts. I read somewhere that, or I saw it on TikTok maybe. I feel like I introduce everything with that, but it's TikTok where it was basically human beings are just one droplet in the ocean. And if you think of the ocean as like the universe or whatever, we're just one drop. We're only meant to take care of our like immediate shit. You know, like we don't need to worry about what the ocean is doing. Like we just need to take care of our own thing. And if everyone did that, we'd be fine.
Exactly.
You know, if everyone actually took care of their own stuff and didn't butt in everyone else's stuff, I feel like a lot more people would be happy. I mean, that's my opinion on it. And like everyone's searching for their own meaning for it. And yeah, you were talking about how you used to search externally and like finding things outside, but after a certain amount of time, you understand. Some people never understand, but most people who go inward realize that that's the way to go. Like inward is the answer for pretty much everything. And like searching inward and any kind of what's the word? So like contentment in life and satisfaction is going to be found inward, not out. You're not going to be able to buy a Lamborghini and be satisfied with your life forever. It's just not a thing. But anyways, we were supposed to do like a little 5-minute intro and then just start, but we ended up going on like a 30-minute. We'll start this intro now. We're pretty much a few minutes into this conversation, but welcome back to your Joyage. I'm Cage, your guide. I'll be replacing the little voice inside your head for now, giving you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say thank you for listening or viewing, whatever platform you're on. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, drop a like in this video, and if you haven't already, Joyage Clips, TikTok and Instagram, that's where we post all the highlights, all the updates about anything to do with the podcast. Go follow us there. And yeah, today I have Ashanti Long, call him Sasha, is the man. Yay.
Yeah.
Actually, one day I want to have like a soundboard so I can like hit the thing and everything like goes off, like applause, and like have like a crew. It'd be awesome. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's not really, this isn't an interview podcast. This is more of just, I have some topics. This dude's pretty spiritual and philosophical. You can tell he's pretty much a philosopher. We both are. He's just, I feel like if anyone was deeper than me, it's you. Like, honestly, like, there's no one who picks stuff apart more than I do, except for you, for sure. But anyways, do you want to, I know we talked about this on like an old Zoom call, like the one, remember, was it a year ago now?
Yeah, when we were talking about the George Floyd case.
That was a year?
Yeah, that was about a year ago when like we wanted to do something different from everybody else. Like everybody was just doing like these black, black
like squares
and
stuff
that was like actually like just taken up, from the algorithm, just like deleting important content.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to find a way to, break the boundaries, but also do something meaningful. So we did, like, you invited me to your podcast.
Yeah.
And we kind of did, like, a special about, like, the whole situation, like, what we as minorities have to face and deal with, and, like, kind of, like, just how we felt about things. And, like, I thought it was really powerful. And I know a lot of people came to me and liked the video, saying, like, it was a really good video, and they liked the things we said. And they were like, oh, yeah, like, that was like really cool. You guys need to keep it up and stuff like that. So I really I know it made me feel good inside to be able to know that. And also it actually like helped me in the job market, also talking about like stuff I did, like side gigs where like with the podcast and being like an activist. So, and like people like that. So like, the movement that you are creating, like you let me hop on, was really cool.
Yeah. Well, that was before we had it. I don't even know if I don't think I was doing YouTube at all. I think that was before, because I started YouTube in like June or July.
It was definitely before.
So it was before, yeah, so a few months before. Yeah, a couple random stuff, but that podcast ended up being fucking amazing. Like, neither of us knew what we were doing. The first 15 minutes was awkward as hell. We both were like, what? But then you started talking, and then we started like getting into like topics, and it just started flowing. And this is the first time, well, it's the second time technically I've done a guest podcast. One will be coming out very soon. That was a Zoom call with my friend Jonathan. But this will be the first time we're in the room. This is the original Joyage studio, technically. Different angle, because I had to move the desk out from the side to fit fit room. I wish I should have taken a picture. We still can, I guess, of what the setup. It looks fucking ridiculous right now. There's like a light over here, like an umbrella light. I have like a little LED light in the corner. But yeah, we're really just gonna talk about some of the thoughts I had. I know you've written some stuff down, so we'll get to that stuff too. Hopefully, I don't know. This might end up being like a 4-hour podcast. I never know what's gonna happen whenever we hang out. Just random shit starts happening. So I don't know. We went into a 20-minute little spiel there. So I'm just gonna start with the first one that I wrote. I think this was all this morning. I just got in this journaling state. I started writing, and usually I write down a sentence or two, and this time it just turned into paragraphs. So yeah, the first thing I wrote was basically, and I'm interested to see what you think about this, because if there's anyone who I think might have felt this too, it would have been you. And if you don't, that'll be actually really interesting if you didn't think this too. But I always thought I had something special, and I know everyone to some level thinks that, but I have always known that as a gut feeling, not like I know like I'll be somewhere one day, like have this fantasy. Like I know in my fucking core that something was off with like my DNA. And even from like when I was like 6 years old, I would see my dad coming home from work, and like he loved work, but I literally could not compute as to how that was gonna work for me. I was like, I'm not gonna go to a school and teach something and like get paid by some salary, and I never did. So I always did soccer. I always like envisioned myself as a professional soccer player. Then when that didn't happen, I got into fitness, and fitness was the thing. And I had to be the best, and I became like one of the best. I was like one of the guys in Charleston you go to for fitness. But I always low key felt like imposter syndrome coming in. Like I'd always get to the top, and I was like one of the best at soccer in the state, and I like made all state in the North South. But I always felt like a phony. Like someone at any point was gonna like pop out and be like, like I can't describe it. I always felt like I was gonna have more, but then like inside I always felt like a little bitch, like a little kid or something. I don't know if you ever felt that, but
I don't know. I think for me personally, and just growing up, like I had no path, I guess. Like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. There was no like inner meaning to the things I did. I kind of just did things. I think when I was younger, like I thought less and just acted more.
did stuff.
And so I think I was kind of a little bit more happier that way. But also I was a lot naive at the same time, because, you really should think about things. My dad always told me think before I speak, or like think before I do something, because I just acted more than I actually thought. It was more like a feeling. And so when I was younger, I didn't really look at the things around me. And I think that was a huge blow to me as I grew older, because I caused more, not damage, but I guess I caused more damage for myself than I realized, because I wasn't looking at the things around me, and I was kind of just narrow minded. And so like as I was growing up, I always wanted to be like the star of the show. I always wanted to be like, the main actor. I always wanted to be like the center of attention. And I think that was because I was lonely, and I just wanted people to know me. Like I wanted friends. I wanted just to to be invited to things. And I guess I showed out. I was like the main actor, the goofy person, because I just wanted to be seen. And that kind of like pushed people away. I guess because I was kind of forcing things. And people really wasn't resonating with me like that. I was like, why are people not resonating with me in that way I want them to? I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be like goofy. I'm trying to, act out, like be seen, like see me.
For all the wrong reasons, though.
But for
right?
all the wrong reasons. And so people kind of like talked, and like were in my presence. But, you would see in movies and stuff like that. And like, there'd be a scene where like people are like turned to like white shades or black shades, and they're like talking behind your back or something like that, and like saying all this shit behind you, and like saying like this and that, and like in front of you they might show you a sense of courtesy because they just don't want to be disrespectful, but behind me they were saying a lot of shit,
talking shit
behind my back. And like that put me more and more into despair, because I was stressing on that so much that like it like just turned my whole self black, and I just started seeing everybody as X's, like just X's on everybody's faces, and like I couldn't face anybody at all. and like I was having trouble making friends. The friends I had, I wouldn't really call them my friends. Yeah, like I think they hanged out with me or talked to me, maybe based on obligations, maybe because our parents were friends and like they threw parties together and like we had to be in each other's presence.
But not because they
But
liked
not,
your personality, is what you're saying.
yeah, but not necessarily because they liked me. Not saying like I was, and like I grew up thinking that maybe I was just super bad. But then I realized that I was very misunderstood, and I think I is when my problems got out of hand. My parents held me back because, like I said, I acted more than I thought. So they thought I needed to mature more. I needed to and like helling. You know,
Yeah, what are you saying?
I like kids get held back
Oh, okay.
was a popular thing in South Carolina for males because they needed to mature more. It was something really popular that a lot of people did. So my parents decided to held me back, and that's when I was so depressed and stuff like that. I think that's when I first started thinking.
How old were you?
This was second grade.
Holy shit.
This is second grade. So
Oh,
I got
so hella early.
hella early.
Okay.
And so this was second grade. And so when they told me that, I think that's the first time I thought for myself about why I was getting held back. What did I do? I guess it was like a switch in the light. It made me really think about the shit I was doing, and it kind of like I guess it sparked a change. And I was like, okay, like let me like do better. Like let me actually focus on school. Like I didn't focus on school at all. I got horrible grades. Like I cheated all the time. Not really caring about like I said, I didn't care about anything. Like I wasn't thinking about my future, what I was going to be, or anything like that. I mean, I was young, and I think, especially when you're young, you just act more than you think. So I think that was very understandable at the same time. But I think I realized that I was slowly growing, and so I started changing myself. Me thinking like this was a positive, outlook, but as I'll get onto the story, like it really wasn't. I started changing myself, and I was like, started feeling. I guess I became their bitch, and I started changing myself in the sense where so the new year started. I was acting more nicer, but I guess I was acting more. What's it called? Submissive.
Yeah.
To them.
Just changing to whatever you needed to like survive the room wherever you were at.
And so I started being more submissive to them, and they started liking me more. Maybe because they felt a sense of superiority over me.
Probably.
Maybe they felt like I was one of their goonies, or whatever. I don't know. I really can't see that, but things started getting better in that sense. Where I started I was more nicer. I started focusing on my schoolwork. So that's another connect. Cause now they can talk about school. They can ask me what I think about problems and stuff like that. I guess I started relating to more things as I changed myself, being focused on school, being submissive, doing the things find similar interests, I guess. So I started shifting the focus where now they're inviting me to do stuff in a sense and everything. And I remember I didn't find out I was being submissive till way later, but I did a thing where I would bring a huge stack of candy to school every time. I would bring a huge stack of candy. And the reason I did that because people always asked me for candy. And I felt joy from that because they got people to talk to me. They got people to interact with me. They wanted something from me. And I realized that, I was just giving them. I was giving them everything. And that's all I was doing. And that didn't really change anything because they still talked behind my back. They still said things. No matter what I did, I wasn't they didn't change anything. Still people said shit. And I wasn't realizing that just because, no matter how much I give them my affection, my love, my
candy,
my candy, give them my candy, give them shit. It doesn't mean they had to accept my sincerity, and maybe it's not for them. And I didn't realize that. So growing older, time went on. I started being an A+ student. I started taking GT classes. I started like being more like them. I changed the style of the way I dressed. I finally made up with the clique. They called themselves the POJs.
You know how to name?
Yeah,
Oh
POJs,
my
the
God.
piece of drunks.
Wow.
I made it all the way to middle school. I was a part of the POJs, man. I was part of the crew. I was with the clique, man. I was with them. We had like our little conversations, but like I was in it, but like I wasn't really in it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? They were their own little thing, and I was kind of like I was.
Were you though? Were you in it? You just think you weren't? Like, were you in it?
I I was a part of it.
But you weren't top tier. You weren't like the people who start the group message, like first
Yeah,
round
nah.
pick, first round. Not yeah, I
Nah.
never was either. I remember growing up. I don't think I had those thoughts that early on. All I think I did until I was like high school was I would just go. I was literally a sheep. Like I literally just wherever they were going, I was going there. Like whatever the cool at the time, I was like, all right, I'll get some too. Like I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll try that. I'll learn the Soldier Boy dance. Like anything that everyone else is doing, I'm hopping on it. Cause like when you're young, you don't know any better. You just do stuff. You don't really like think internally like what's gonna make me happy because you don't know enough about anything. And when I got to high school, I was just filled with insecurity. Like everything I did was fueled in order to push me up in the ranks to like most popular. That was the goal, and like everything I did, like the proposal in front of the whole school, like becoming the best in the soccer team. I wanted to be captain. I wanted to wear the captain's band. I wanted everyone to know I was the captain. Like I would wear my soccer jersey. I would wear tight t-shirts. Like it was all to put out this persona that even when I won, like I everything I wanted, I became the popular guy. I did the proposal. I was the soccer player captain. I still felt every ounce of insecurity, and I didn't feel any better about
Exactly.
myself. And it was so frustrating. So I was like, how am I supposed to get rid of this insecurity if I just accomplished everything I wanted to? And I had no idea. And it took me like years. I'm still working on it because like some days are really good, some days are really bad. And I'm at a way better place now. Like I don't really much care anymore, but I still do. I mean, every now and then if something happens in public, I like worry about other people think, or like I'm not gonna pull out my entire vlogging like equipment to like vlog in a Harris Teeter because I'm gonna worry about what people think of me.
Exactly.
And that's like a repercussion of growing up and always trying to just pander to whatever everybody else was doing.
Realize that you're
sucks.
just conforming yourself.
Yeah, you're just conforming yourself, and it will be a never-ending road to just mediocrity. That's how you get there. You don't change anything, you don't do anything different, and that's why on this podcast I stress so much that if there's an end goal of 9 to 5, if that's the end goal to the road you're on right now, and what you're doing is college, you're doing nothing different, you're not working on yourself. That's what 99% of people are doing, and that end goal is the 9 to 5 robot life where you go to work, you come home, you watch some Netflix, you pass out, maybe you drink a little bit, like, but nothing for yourself. And so, like, when you get off work or when you have free time, use that free time to do stuff that are, like, helping you in some way or pushing you in a direction that isn't that end goal that you don't want. So if you're fine with the 9 to 5, then you keep doing that. For me, I just wanted something different, and I was like, okay, what's the furthest thing from that? A 6-month road trip. I'm just going to deck out my car. There's 0 people in Charleston doing what I'm doing. Like 0 people decking out a Prius to go make a YouTube series and try and send it and see if a sponsorship picks up or something. Like, that's not a thing. And so since that's not a thing and that's not a road, I know that road could not possibly lead to the 9 to 5.
You create your own entity for yourself.
Yeah, and so the only way to do it. That's what all the people who are successful at the top, they go, how'd you do it? They're like, I don't know. I just started doing things and led to this and that. But none of the things they're talking about are the things that normal people do. Like everything they did is not a normal thing. Like, oh, I got an agent over here, then I flew to this place and I sent it, and everyone talks about like a leap. And like this is a physical and like a spiritual form of a leap. When I get in the car and I make that video where it's like
beginning
drive, like, going across the country or whatever it ends up being, like that'll be my full send. I'm saving up my money, and like that's the leap, and that'll probably be one leap of many. It might not even be like the big leap that I'm thinking it might be. I have no idea. I'm just gonna kind of send it and roll with the punches. But that's super interesting. I couldn't believe that early, second grade, you remember I don't have thoughts other than like, oh my God, does he think I'm dumb? That's the only things I remember thinking before I was like 15.
Yeah, I started thinking really early.
That's why you're so ahead. That's why you have tried no drugs and you are miles past me in the spiritual realm somehow. and it's because you started so early.
And I think because I think it's really big is just understanding who you are, and that's the biggest thing I did my entire life, and trying to understand who I am as an individual, what I stand for, where I stand in society in this world. Understand that I'm just African in America. Understand that America is not the only place in this world. I understand who I was, and slowly try to build pieces and to create a bigger picture for myself. I always reflected on myself and try to be better than what I was yesterday. And so as the course is like second grade going on to middle school, where I realized that I was just conforming to them and being submissive and just being more like them because I can fit in. It wasn't until 11th grade where I was like, there was an incident where like I thought something I was doing righteous, but they didn't think it that way, and they outcasted me. And like it was like the same thing over and over again. Like it was never enough for them. Nothing I did was ever enough for anything. Now I was giving, but it was never enough. And I realized that I need to find my own path, find out what I like to do, what I dislike. Like I don't know anything about myself. I was focused on all these other people. What they like, what they dislike. I need to understand them. Now I tried to make sure I understood every person I talked to, deeply, so I could, you know adapt myself and to their energies whenever I need to. So I would change up my persona. Like I can go to my white person voice. I can go to like my nigga voice. I can act. I'll adapt to myself because I watched all these people so long, and I knew nothing about myself. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what I disliked. I didn't know why I acted a certain way and why I didn't act a certain way. And I realized I really needed to start know about myself, focus on myself, and understand who I was. And I realized that life takes practice. And I'm not talking about like the type of practice was like, learning how to sing, learn how to kick a soccer ball, learning how to play the piano or to like, do art or, like programming. But I'm learning like how to be a friend or finding friends, at least the right ones, how to be a good friend, how to be a good lover, how to be a good family member, how to be a good student, finding when it was a good time to rage, but also a good time to give mercy. Finding out how do I start things? How do I begin my journey? But also realizing when it's time to end a journey. Understanding that, our whole lives, there's so much of our bodies that needs to be flexed, stretched, and strengthened to create a better self. And that's what I was really kind of doing. Is like, doing my body to a sense where I was flexing myself, pushing myself to a limit to understand who I was and like what worked for me. And I was just came to practice. I always believe that, always try to experience things, the good, the bad. I cherish them because they create who I am. If I do something that I don't like, then I pushed it away from myself. It was experience. I got experience from it. I can talk about it. I can break a threshold and understand someone about it. If it's something I like, I adopt it to myself and do it, and I can reflect and like talk about it. And so you're not gonna know it. Like, and I also stress about the sense where like get the analogy where like I was afraid to call you because I didn't want to bother you. I'm very like sensitive about wanting to bother people. And so, like, I say, like, maybe, like, I'm not going to call them. That's 100% no. That your answer. Because, like, I'm denying myself to get that yes. But if I called you, that gave me, at least it gives me a possibility for a yes. You might pick up. So I got my yes. Now we're talking. If you don't pick up, I leave a voicemail. And you might text me or, like, call me back on early convenience. That also gives me a possibility for a yes. Or, like, I get a no, but like that's way better than the 100% chance of no that I gave myself if I didn't do it at all. And that's how I think about life also. I always try to get my possibilities of just getting those yeses. And like giving those yeses just personal senses of achievements, of situations or wherever, or people, or like actions or stuff like that. And so overall, like, I just been really just working on myself.
Well, people don't do that. I think what you said was like profound, low key. You glossed over it sort of, but when you said like I don't really know myself, I think people sweep that under the rug and think, oh, I know myself. I'm me. Like, what are you talking about? I've been me for 20 years, and you're like, but like you don't actually know who you are. There's like 500 versions of you, depending on the circumstance. If you're in the elevator, there's a certain type of you. When I'm podcasting, there's a certain type of me. When I'm at my restaurant job, there's a certain part of me that comes out, and it's all little versions. Like, it's the same you. It's just little different angles of you, and there's so many different kinds, and most people don't take the time because it's, I don't know if it's scary. It's more just like no one knows how to do it because it's different for everybody, and like, the way people get into it is different. Some people get into it because of their father dying or something, or maybe they have a traumatic accident. Some people just are bored. Some people just are born with questions, and some people don't ever ask the question. And I don't think that the people who never ask, the ones who, in quotes, like stay ignorant or whatever, the ones who never even are aware of themselves, you can't even like get mad because like maybe they just never had something happened to them, because they got up and they never had that moment when they were 15 where they were like, why am I still doing this? Why? And they just are in a constant state of, how do I get out of this situation on top and then move on? Then they get home, and then now they got to take care of their kid, and they got to go to work and make sure, and they never like get any perspective. They just worry about what's happening right now. And like, being present is good, but when you're not aware of the present moment and you're just being present, I feel like there's a disconnect. Like, you have to be aware of the present moment to be able to actually be present, if that makes any sense. I don't know. If you're just being present and you're ignorant, you're not really being present. You're just being ignorant, in my opinion, because that's the people I see at the restaurant all the time. They can't control any of their emotions because they're not even aware that they're just being an asshole, you know?
And I also think it's because it also has to do with their lifestyle also. I think in their lives, they're bitches. Probably most of them in the workforce and their families, inferiority complexes with siblings, with friends, like people who really can't control their emotion and show it out in restaurants or like in out places where they can feel superior, are typically bitches in their own lives. And they feel like they can have a sense of superiority where they don't have to control their emotions. They can say whatever the fuck they want because it gives them satisfaction, because now they're not the bitch.
I didn't even think about that. That's actually really good. That's really good.
That's why I feel like a lot of people act like that, because in a sense, we all been bitches in our own lives, you know? And me, like, personally, it was like good, I forgot his name, David Trabot, I forgot his name. He's a YouTuber or something.
David Dobrik?
Yeah, like, he put a tweet out. I really love that tweet. It was like, you know, life's a bitch, but like, just like any bitch, I'll make that bitch wet. And like,
oh God, that did not age. It did not age well. Have you heard what happened to him?
Yeah,
it did not age well at all.
Also, he's not making no bitches wet right now.
Yeah, no, like, definitely not.
And with the sexual charges,
yeah, it's probably not a good comment to make.
Yeah, not good.
But in the sense where, like, you know, like, just coming up from adversity and like not letting like life, like, you know, break you down. And I think it's just, we are so built on labels and constructs where like people just can't get out of that shit, and like it's somatic, and we're in this somatic system where people act like that, and you can't really do anything about it,
because they all have to have that moment for themselves. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer, this is a gut feeling I have. I saw this on TikTok. I saw a TikTok about this, but I already thought this girl was like, just in her car, and she goes, "This is the one. This life, this experience is the one where I win, or like where everything works out, or whatever." She had like an intrinsic feeling that this life was the one that matters. You know how a lot of people think we have like alternate realities, or we're reborn every time, but she was convinced this was like the one where she wakes up or whatever. And I've always thought this reality, this existence, this go around is the one for me, and I don't think it's true for everybody else. I don't even know if everybody else exists. You know those theories where it's like everyone is you're everybody, and you're okay, well, if that's the case and I'm everybody, then I don't know. But what I think is that for me, this reality is the one where I win, or I don't know what it would be, but this is the reality. And for some people, I don't think this is their like base reality. I think this is one of their rounds where they didn't get it right. You know, when you see those people who are like 50 years old who are just like angry and have nothing to show for their 50 years of life, and I'm like, dude, this person fucking just coasted through life and wasted it. They're not appreciative of anything. They're like out here at a beautiful restaurant. I always use Loggerheads things because I'm there all the time. But they're at a beautiful restaurant, spring break, and they're pissed that their hamburger came out 10 minutes late. And I'm just like, bro, come on. Like, you have to get some awareness and just chill. Like, just be chill. And so many people aren't. They're just angry at everything because they let life make them their bitch. Like, they literally just, they get yelled at by their boss. They get home. Their wife yells at them. Their kids hate them. And I'm like, that has to be a wake-up call where you change something, you stop being the victim, and you just start going and doing stuff.
But I also feel like you probably went through like some type of despair to get to that point.
Me?
Like you reached your lowest point.
Me?
Yeah,
Or like
you, or like anybody who like has that. I think in the sense where like they say like you form your personality when you're 8, like about 8 years old. And like they say you form your basic mannerisms, the way you act, the way like you be yourself, when you're like a teenager or something like that. And like I remember asking my psychology teacher, so like how would someone's behavior like change dramatically? Like became someone's personality behavior change? She said you had to go through extreme stress, extreme despair. And typically people who say like this is their wake up call, who went through change and like made for themselves, typically go through some type of despair. They reach their lowest point.
That's true.
And like some type of some extreme stress that changed them. A lot of people know, like I'm a huge anime fan, and a perfect example of what you were talking about and like what I was talking about, just about awakening to a sense of reality, and but also like feeling that like you have to go through some type of stress, extreme stress or despair to be awakened. That
True.
And I was watching this anime called Tokyo Ghoul, where like the whole premise is like there's just these demons running throughout the world. They look like human beings, but they eat human flesh. And like the government in Japan is trying to keep it under control, get them, and like save humanity. And the main character started off as a bitch, going through life, letting people take advantage of him, very timid, and in the sense where like he gets manipulated. And the top goal, like the number one bitch, like number one fucker came, and who was a woman, couldn't talk to him, made him feel special, took him out to some like abandoned place and ate on his flesh. Luckily that he was saved by somebody who killed the woman by throwing like all these construction pillars on her. But it turns out he needed an organ transplant, and they used that woman's body as an organ transplant. So he became a ghoul himself, and so he went through this extreme despair, knowing that he was not human. He had to eat human flesh. He could not eat human flesh, and the more the more they didn't eat human flesh, it was so painful, so bad withdrawals that they go crazy and they lose all sense of self. So him finding with the realities that he's no longer human, hit him hard. And on top of that, he gets kidnapped. And this guy tortures him for almost, they don't even say how long it was. It was like timeless. Like he felt like he was there for like years. Where like he put a eating centipede inside his body, and it ate his insides. But because he was a ghoul, he healed. And so like,
why did he do that?
The dude was just torturing him. He
tortured him by doing that. Okay.
Yeah, like the person who kidnapped him just tortured him, and told him to count from 1,000, by 7. So 1,993, and he had to keep on counting. So like he won't focus on the pain.
Oh.
He kept on breaking his fingers. He would cut apart his limbs. He would cut holes in his stomach.
And he recovers each time.
But he kept on over and over. He put him in this extreme despair that he became like after all his friends came to save him. He was so fucked up in the head that like he ate on the person that tortured him. He ate him. He did the exact shit that he did not want to do.
Damn.
He ate. He didn't even eat a human. He ate a ghoul. Something like he became a cannibal. His personality changed so much. Like he beat the shit out of everybody.
His friends?
No, other people. But he was crazy. Like he fuck everything. When he was he was nice to his friends and stuff like that. He still remained, but he matured. He realized that this how ugly this world was, and how much of a if he even said, if I was the main character of this story, my story would be a tragedy. he started realizing reality itself and understanding where he was in this world and what he stood, and he was like, I'm changing this. I'm not gonna be no bitch no more. If I had to, like, anybody had to be hurt, it should be me. And he took all the blame. He took all the he became the villain and like just wreaked havoc everywhere, becoming this like big significant figure in the world himself. His looks changed, his mannerisms changed. So I believe that you really do have to go through just some type of despair, some type of stress, some type of I reached the lowest point where I only can look up, where like you realize those type of things.
Yeah, I mean, my thing was not nearly as crazy as this anime that you just described. That was intense.
Really fucked up.
The first thing I think of, I immediately go to the breakup with Meg, but that started me on my journey. I mean, that made me look inward a little bit because I realized that I was just giving and giving, and that was it really, and that kind of led to the downfall of the relationship. And that awareness from that moment is what pushed me to start this new like version of me, or this new version of life where I like didn't just get pushed around and let people walk all over me. That's where I started like developing like an actual personality where I was like, this is me, and I'm cool with certain people not liking me. Like I remember to that point, nobody disliked me, I don't think, ever. And I don't think I ever pissed anybody off, and never really got in arguments or even discussions. I would just be like, oh, whatever, you're right. And not because I didn't care, but it was literally because I didn't believe in myself, I guess. And so I started believing myself a little bit. That's why I think that was 2018. I think I was still like working out really hard, but that was like the start for me. I never hit like a rock bottom. It was more just a prolonged state of me being at like a 1 out of 10 as far as like feeling good and like all that stuff. I was at a 1 out of 10 for like 2 years. And then when YouTube started, it finally gave me something to work toward, and that kind of sprouted into something. And then like 8 months later, I started a podcast. But I did have to sit and suffer for 2 years, literally. I just like ate shit and like felt like shit, and never really felt like it was like a year later, and I'll be like, wow, look how far I came. But then low key, I felt like I didn't progress at all. And now looking back from that last year, and now it's 2021, so it's been like 3 years now. It feels like an entirely new me, and I feel like the pandemic like reset me, at least. I don't know about everybody else, but it like reset me, and it feels like a totally different version of me before, like in 2018. It feels like the one that wasn't awake, and when I took the psychedelic, that was right after the breakup too. That also increased that gap from being like in quotes ignorant and naive and not really understanding myself or being self-aware, and it like amplified that because I was already thinking about those things because it was well after the breakup. And so when I took that drug, and what it does is just amplifies what you already think. Like when you take acid, if you ever take acid or shrooms or whatever, it's not gonna, you already know, you're like already aware of all the things that it typically would throw in your face. You'll just kind of be like, oh, this is amazing. Like I can't believe this is like a thing. Like I can't believe this reality exists, that we're able to perceive this new like trippy reality, and it's like a video game, and you really feel like you're in a video game, and you can't even relate to real life anymore, and you're going to be in that trip for a while, but it's not going to be as profound as it was for me, I think, because I didn't think like you before. I thought sort of. I was like at a 10% of what you were at, and you're already where I'm at and probably more without it. So for you, it's not going to be like that. It'll just be like a cool thing. Like it'll just be like another experience for you, which is dope. But yeah, what you're talking about, I mean, yeah, I think most people, when they get in crazy shape, it's usually because of a breakup, or usually because something crappy happened to them, and they're like, oh, I'm going to take charge. But this is a little different because it's not like my body. I stopped focusing on my body as much. My boss, literally, he was, yesterday, he goes, how much do you weigh, Cade? And I was like, how much do you think I weigh? And he goes, I don't know, 150? And I was like, oh my God, fuck. I was like, 150? You think I weigh 150? And I was like, damn, I really like have not worked out in a while. Like I weigh like 180 still. He was like, you don't weigh 180. And people used to think I weighed like 200 pounds because I worked out so much and I was so buff. And I was like, holy, and I looked in the mirror. I was like, damn, I've really lost some weight. Like I really am not this big bulky bodybuilder like I used to be. And that was like on purpose. But I remember when he said that, I was just thrown for a fucking loop. Because I changed my reality entirely. I used to be this fitness guy who was insecure as fuck and just, I don't even know what I did before. Like, I can't remember what it was like to not be aware, I guess. And that's weird for me. And you don't even have a time where you weren't aware. It's literally first grade, you know? So you've been aware this whole fucking time. You must feel like an elder.
From my old age is catching up to me. And I feel like, I can't do the same things as you young folks can. I'm not like in my prime anymore. Like just walking up the steps make me out of breath and then make my back ache. So seeing you young folks grow old and like get older.
Until a soccer ball gets thrown out and you run 25 miles per hour. Fucking weird.
It's
just so weird.
No, and I think I started focusing more on my body actually.
Really? Why? Like, do you want to achieve a certain look or because it feels good or why?
I think it really started where fitness, sports, and stuff was really cohesive with sports and working out. I worked out because I wanted to be a starter. I wanted to prove people wrong. I deserved the spot. I have to be fit. I need to score goals. So I had to be in a certain type of shape to be able to perform the way I want. And so I worked out, to achieve the things I wanted to do. And when, sports ended for me, there was a disconnect with that because I didn't need to do that anymore. Right. So I gave it up. I worked out here and there, but not constantly like I used to. I didn't constantly go running and run 3 miles, or I didn't constantly go in the gym and lift. I didn't constantly be active as I used to be. And so I started I didn't really gain that much weight. I didn't get fat. I wasn't getting fat or anything. But obviously you can see notable difference from what I used to be and what I am now. And I would work out here and there, and I try to get back into working out. But I work out for a week, but then something with school maybe happened, or I get sick, and I was my consistency, I was very inconsistent. And consistency is something I've been working on a lot lately. And then I stopped working out again 3-4 months later, started working out, blah blah blah. And I think it hit me when I went to Japan. After I lived in Japan, I lost some weight just because I was just eating a lot healthier. That's because that's what I was subjected to with the type of food. And lost a little weight. So I came fast forwarding a year, coming back to America, ate like shit again because the food was more greasy, bigger portions, all yada yada yada. And I gained all that weight back. Moving forward, I went to my grandma's house, and I was sitting there just playing on my phone. My aunt comes in, and she's like, "Oh, Shanti, baby,
oh shit,
you gained a little weight, haven't you? You looking like a chipmunk."
No, grandma.
Your cheeks are a little puffy. And
she got you with the cheeks.
And that was another realization. So I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, "Sis, have I gained weight?" And she's like, "Yeah, you're looking like a chipmunk. You look like you have acorns in your mouth."
When was this? Was this a year ago?
Yeah, about 8 months.
Yeah, no, you were a little chubby for sure.
And
I didn't care. I don't care, but it is true.
Yeah, so and so I was like, shit, damn, fuck. I was like, you guys telling me this shit now? You guys just letting me look like a pregnant woman about to give birth? You guys letting me my stomach just sit down my shirt? I was like, damn, and it just made me really think about it. And it's my sister being a bodybuilder. I was like, dude, I really need to change the way
Why?
Because I felt disgusted with myself.
Because they said that?
Not because I started just looking at myself, actually looking at myself. I think this is, and it goes back to the thing you were talking about, why people can't become to realize things, because I think we all go up with the things I'm strong, I look good, I'm fine as fuck, and even the new phase, I'm looking good, I'm looking fresh, I'm strong, smart, and so we have these fake ideas about ourselves that,
feed us for a majority of our lives, and you don't realize you can't really start understanding yourself till you say like, I'm not strong, I'm not really that healthy, I'm pretty fat right now, like, I'm not that smart, I'm pretty timid. And once you reject all these stuff and come to a face value with yourself, that's when you can grow with yourself. So I finally started looking at myself, like really looking at myself, and realized I was disgusted with like how I looked. I didn't feel good. I felt unhealthy. I felt sluggish. I felt disgusted with myself. I was like, I want to feel good. I just want to feel healthy. I want to have at least. No, I'm not trying to be like huge or anything like that. But I want to be like, I want to look good for like how I feel. And so like, I started eating more healthy. I wasn't eating like 30, 40 chicken nuggets a day.
God, do you eat so many
nuggets,
pizza rolls?
I wasn't eating like 50 bagel bites. I wasn't just eating 3,000 to 6,000 calories in one meal.
Yeah.
Because I used to go like, let me be like healthy. Like I'm just gonna eat one meal a day, but then I eat like 3,000 to 6,000 calories. Yeah. That completely defeats the purpose. Like I'm still like that. I could have just ate 3 meals a day, small portions, and still got the same effect.
That's actually a perfect segue, because I think it was in the beginning of the podcast we brought up this book about the body and how we're so resilient our bodies are, basically, and how our body and brain are literally masters at staying alive and even staying like thriving even. And the fact that you went, I don't know how many months eating fucking chicken nuggets and pizza every day and like giving yourself shit food wise, and then like, watching a lot of anime and like essentially just being unhealthy and all the bad habits that you wanted to
I adopted after,
yeah. But your body still was chill. Like, I mean, you gained some weight, but nothing shut down. You didn't get like a horrible heart issue. I mean, maybe you were on the way there, but the fact that we can all do that, and a lot of people will never have that realization you had. They'll just keep getting it, and then next thing you know, they have like a huge belly, and their body still works. For the most part, most people don't get cancer. If you get cancer, you're probably screwed, but like most people don't get cancer, and like most people don't have heart disease and stuff. Yet a shit ton of people eat McDonald's. A shit ton of people don't meditate. A shit ton of people don't even do anything to take care of their body. I just bought a foot massager right there. It's under the table. That thing has saved my life. And now I do it like multiple times a day because I'm on my feet for 25. I walk like 11, 12 miles a day at the job. So my feet are fucking aching every time after work. And I started taking care of my feet, and like it doesn't hurt anymore when I'm at work, and that's so nice. And it feels good to take care of my feet because like we're on our feet all day. Like all day we're on our feet, and you don't take care of them, and you use your brain all day long. All night long it's going too. Like even if you're dreaming or whatever, like your body doesn't stop. It just keeps going. And like most people don't take any time for themselves to like just hang out and like read a book or like drink some coffee and hang out or do some yoga or go to the gym. Like people just don't take care of their bodies. They just think it's gonna last them forever. And then when something happens, they go, what the fuck? What do you mean I have this issue? It's like, well, I mean, you didn't do anything that was gonna stop you from getting it. You just got unlucky, I guess. But I think it's nuts that our brain and body is so capable, yet we feed, for the most part, I mean, not everyone's eating whole foods and whole real vegetables every day. Like, that's not a thing for most people. I don't even do that. I try and eat at least one meal of fruit and one meal of vegetables a day, but that doesn't happen every time. And I think our bodies were meant to be eating that 24/7. And the fact that we're just eating processed food for the most part, most of us, and our bodies are still chill, like they're still fine. Most people who eat fast food aren't like obese, I don't think. They're just normal people, probably have 10, 15 pounds of extra fat on them that they could lose if they wanted to. But it's crazy to me that our bodies adapted so quick.
No, you're right, and that's like just like what you're talking about, how like resonating my brain and my body to resonate, because like you said, like based on what you're talking about, your body and your brain tells you what you need. You're kind of just rejecting it and feeding it like horrible shit, and that's why I kind of like try and like allow my body to tell me what I need. And so I try to be feeding myself the stuff I need, trying to work out and like saying like, okay, is this bad for me? Like, does my body hurt? Like, like
assessing how your body's feeling,
and like just like test running it. Started cooking for myself, cooking like healthy meals, like things that are good for me. and like stop doing like what I was doing, it felt amazing. I felt really good. I didn't feel as full as constipated as it was. I felt like I felt disgusting after I ate that much. Just eating like 80%. Made me feel really good. Working out every day. I started building a lot of muscle, and now I'm gonna start leaning, and like cutting the weight down because like I don't need all this
extra
body fat on me, even if it's muscle. Like I don't need all this. Like I'm like 227, and like now like I was like, okay, like yeah, like, I'm making this to muscles, like my shoulders and my chest is getting really good. I'm slowly working on my bottom part. But I was like, I don't need all this. Like I feel heavy. My back hurts.
So that's why I stopped working out as much.
Yeah, my back.
I was just like, there's no need for this much muscle unless I'm gonna bodybuild, which I'm not.
Exactly, I'm not doing that. I just want to feel healthy, and my back's aren't hurting like this. Like with my body size and my weight, I'm obese. I'm not saying I'm not like I'm starting to.
You're talking about according to the health statistics online, which are bullshit.
Yeah, with bullshit. Like,
everyone's obese according to that thing.
Yeah,
My dad is like not. He's skinny and he's obese in online apparently, and I was like, that makes no sense. Like you're not obese. Is that why you're doing it? Because
no, not that I feel obese. Like this is just purely for me to feel good about myself, to let my blood start flowing, to feel like start a productive day, to feel successful with myself.
And you will. And how I talked about earlier, if everyone was to just take care of their own shit, the world would be a better place. That's not because we'll all be turned into selfish pieces of shit. If everyone took care of themselves, think about this. If you did the best you could and you felt good and everything was fine, you in turn would go to Chipotle and you'd be the nicest person ever. Like, hey, I just want Chipotle. You probably make their day because most people who walk into restaurants are jerks. And then that person's in a happier mood. So then all their coworkers are surrounded by this person who's in a happier mood. Then they're all in happier moods. They go back to their families are happier moods. And then pretty much like it just spirals and just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And if everyone takes care of their shit and is decent, and everyone is kind of like not taking the victim side and just making their reality happen, like you're going to the gym every day, you're eating healthier, those are steps that lead you into a certain path that you weren't on. You were on this path. And you said, nah, I'm going to start eating some vegetables. And so that puts you on a little path over here, and then this way, and this way. And now you're on this completely new trajectory going the opposite direction. And if everyone did that, the world would be such a different place. And that's why they say gratitude reciprocates. Shout out Matthew McConaughey. And that the world, like karma is fucking real. Like if you put out good energy and it's genuine, like you really want that person to do well. Like I want you to get that job, or I want you to do this because I love you, not because I am like low-key selfish and also kind of like jealous and I'm just pretending like I want you to get it. That's not legit, and like the universe would know, like, because it's not gonna be genuine. But if you genuinely want people to succeed and you help them, it will come back, and hopefully people don't think of it as like a I give and I get back, more of just like I give, and but not from where you're taking away from yourself. Yeah, but you're not taking away from yourself. You're just giving like just positivity out there. And if everyone's doing that, then the world's gonna be a happier place. I read in this book, actually, it talks about how in the same way that our planets and the universe, or like the solar systems and the galaxies are all part of the universe, the cells in our bodies are like that so the cells are basically like the planets and the solar systems for our body, and our body is the universe. And like when you take care of the littlest part, it also affects the whole entirety of it. So when you take care of yourself, when you're out there eating vegetables or like not eating chicken nuggets, and I'm out here filling my podcast because it makes me feel good, we're both having better days. We both feel better about our own selves. And in turn, we're going to affect the people around us, and they're going to affect the people around them. And it really just dominoes on everybody. And it's fucking awesome.
I still eat chicken nuggets. I just make them myself.
Yeah. That fucking chicken wrap that you made, or whatever that was.
So I do make chicken wraps. It's super healthy for you, especially when you get the low carb wraps. Like the tortilla wraps.
Yeah. Shout out Low Carb Cat. Those things are amazing. Low carb wraps are the shit.
So like literally, I just boiled shredded chicken, marinade, and some salsa. No more than like 300-400 calories for like a huge big portion. And I started cooking to the sense where, what do I like? I said like, oh, I do like chicken nuggets. So I started making them myself. Now I get tenderloins, cut them up, flour, eggs, some paprika,
air fry it or fry it, toss it in some barbecue sauce. Two, like, for a good portion size, no more than like two something calories, about 40 things grams of protein,
Yeah, it's a
and
different, but you're
26.
also aware. Like, you're aware of what you're putting in your body, and you're not feeling like shit about it. Like, you're eating
Yeah.
it, and you feel good, and that's different. You can lose weight like that.
And like
it's
I know
great.
what I'm putting, yeah, I know what I'm putting in my body. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, like this is what I had, and with according to what I had, like this is healthy for, like this is
Yeah.
healthy. Like I'm not eating shit, and I'm using, like, I typically use like chicken with no like, bad preservatives or anything like that. I use like I'm trying to say with processed sugar, but I have a huge sweet tooth, so that's not
Same.
gonna happen.
But it's different because you're on a healthy trajectory. You're not you're not a bodybuilder. You're not cutting out all carbs. You're not cutting out all chicken nuggets. You're still doing the things, but you're not like. At least you're aware, and since you're taking care of yourself physically like that, you're taking care of yourself mentally like that, and that's good because there's a lot of people who don't lose weight and they forget to take into account their mental stressors and cortisol levels, which is your stress. If that shit is high up, you're not losing weight anytime soon. I mean, it's gonna take work. Like people who diet down for shows and they have really high cortisol levels because they're stressed out of their mind. A lot of them will hold on to extra fat because their body's like, shit, like what's happening? Like I need to hold on to everything because it looks like we're in a survival situation, and they won't lose weight. So like there's a lot of like different things that go into it, and your mind and body and soul all have to be like connected and like strung together, and they all have to be accounted for. You can't just take care of your body. And because usually if you take care of your body, you're also going to just in turn take care of the other parts. But you need to be like aware of that. And if you're not, this is your fucking wake up call. Like just be aware. I don't know how to like put awareness on people other than just constantly talk about it. But that's like my piece to it.
It's something they have to experience for themselves. It has to be a certain moment in time, and like it's all not. And I really think it's the right moment. It's timing. Like there's gonna be a certain place, time, and something that it's gonna make you have a wake up call.
And hopefully they see my TikTok when that happens. Hopefully they pull up TikTok right when they need to see that fucking video. One of my videos like it didn't blow up, but it like blew up according to my TikTok, and it was of course about psychedelics because it's like its own niche community. But yeah, and that's why I put out every time I put out a piece of content, I'm like in hopes that the right person will see this at the right time, and if they do, you can literally change someone's life, and that's what's great. Like that's why sometimes I'll if I'm at work and one of my coworkers either having a bad day or having a really good day, I'll like draw attention to that, or I'll say something like, "Yo, you're fucking killing it," because like that can help them out, and like I never know what's going on behind the scenes. Like maybe they just had the worst thing ever happen to them that morning, and my 1 second little like blip that I didn't even think about after just changed the course of their day or their week or their life. And and that's why you never know when you say something and it just sticks with them. Like Hannah was talking about, she's like, there's certain things you did and said growing up that have stuck with me forever. And like she hasn't said anything to me that's been like that because she's the younger sister. But like there are certain things that you just don't forget, like something your dad said when you were 6 years old or did, and you thought that was like amazing, or you idolized them for it, and it affected you for the rest of your fucking life. But to them, they don't even notice. Like it was just something they did. Like was there something like I have a few things that come to mind because I've thought about it like prior to this podcast, but like there's certain things that my dad did. One time when I was like 5, I was drowning in a pool basically, and he just like I remember him diving in to save me. But I remember like vividly going under the water and just going like, oh fuck, like I can't swim. I guess this is where it all ends. And I just remember like right here, I like looked and my dad was like reading the newspaper, and I just saw him like close the newspaper, see that I'm drowning, and he just dove in. And I like will never forget that. And because of that, he's like cemented as an idol and like a hero to me. But that was something like he probably doesn't even remember that. I mean, maybe he does because that was kind of like low-key terrifying. But there's so many things like that where you affect somebody and you never even know probably. You probably saved so many people's lives just by something you said or did, and you'll never fucking know unless they tell you.
And I think for me, like, it's not like a huge thing that my father or mother did. It's just daily activity they did that made me respect them so much, to put them on a pedestal, I guess. Which is also terrifying in a sense, because not it's a feeling where like I can't overcome them, and a feeling that like they're always gonna have some form of superiority over me.
I feel that whenever I work with my dad, or like when in that video you watched, I forget what I'm doing when he's helping me. I turn into this like child version of myself where I suddenly I don't know how to use a screwdriver. I'm like, what the fuck? If he wasn't helping me, I could have figured it out on my own. I would have figured it out because I had no choice, and I would have relied on myself. But when he's there, I just let him take the reins. Like if we go on a family trip, he's in charge. You know,
Exactly.
No matter how old I am, I feel like that's just gonna be a thing. I think that's everyone with their parents. I don't know.
I wrote a poem about my dad, actually. It's
Really?
on Medium, that Medium platform. I can't say off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Like, is like if you guys want to check it out, it's under my name on Sean T. Long.
On Medium.
Yeah, on Medium. I was just talking about like how my dad was like this
Superiority.
yeah, superiority being, and like my face, like he's like this strong being, but also has so many scars also, who like would, if he like would die standing up
Yeah.
through like his and like I think the show me how to be a man, and like now like with society you guys like what is being a man,
Right.
and I was just like I don't know, like I can't answer that question, but he just showed me how to be strong, how to face adversity, to like how to shoulder all this pressure, all this weight on me, and still be standing. And that's something that just stood with me, not from like some big significant thing he done,
Just from being there for you.
but just being a presence
Yeah,
in my
being a
life,
presence.
and like just him like living his life, and just like being setting an example every single day is that significant thing that affected me.
It's so interesting that while we're growing up, or at least for me, I kind of discounted the fact that my parents were also living their own life, like doing their own thing, growing, learning. Because I just, everyone's selfish. You can only think about yourself to a certain level. I mean, you can be empathetic, but I never really like considered the fact that my dad was like out there like trying different things or like having new experiences.
Their own problems.
Yeah, like their own problems. You don't think about that because they're just in charge of you, and like that's super interesting. There's also like this idea that age is like a club that you can't get into, and you can also like in the sense that a 40-year-old's perspective on life has to be different than a 20-year-old's because there's 20 years of life experience between them. And even if you're 20 and you're the most wise person ever, there's a level of wisdom and experience you can't have until you're 40. And in the same way, once you get to 80 and you've accumulated all this life experience, you can't understand a 20-year-old's perspective. Even though you're like, well, I've lived I remember being 20. You're like, yeah, but that was a different 20. That was 60 years ago, like being 20 now is different. You lost your club key. You can't get into the 20-year club anymore. Like you're 80. Now you're only in the 80 to like probably 80 to 50. Yeah, but it's just weird that we're like all in clubs and like we all have different experiences based on when we grew up, and there's generation gaps, and that's why, you just a lot of times you can't see eye to eye with your grandparents or your parents because they grew up in a different era. And it's fucking weird that we all just like have our own clubs. Like we're technically old to these people on TikTok. They're like, wow, imagine being born before the 2000s. And I'm like, my fucking God.
Yeah, I'm in the 90s.
I was like 98. I was like, oh my God, that's fucking weird. And like people who were born in 2000, which for me, even though it was only 2 years, it feels like, oh my God, 2000s babies are fucking children. But like that means they're 21 years old. And I was like, it's just weird because I don't think about growing up. Like I feel 17 or 18 inside. So when I think about me being 20, 23 almost, and people who are 17, which is what I feel inside, people 17 look at me going, oh, that 23-year-old's like, he's got his whole life together. He's doing this and that. But I feel just as like
young, lost as young as you.
Yeah.
As you. And there's actually like a mental disorder. For example, like if I forgot what it's called, but like say like if you put like a grown man with a bunch of kids and let him live with those kids for like a long period of time, he will regress into a child.
Yeah, I believe it.
Like
I would if I was just around kids.
Like even though he's supposed to be like mature and stuff like that, he would start showing like children tendencies like that, like typically that you wouldn't show. Like he might cry before like certain things that normally he wouldn't cry for, or like he might like act a certain way that normally because like he starts showing these child tendencies. Yeah.
That's super interesting. I never even thought about. That's like a really interesting thought experiment there.
And like if say like for example like it'll be the same thing. Say like you die and you get reincarnated, right? And like you have all your past experience. And like so you're supposed to be this mature, like say we died and we're 23, like we're becoming like like some mature. We should be like mature in some sense, way or shape or form. But like we still like we're in a child of like a kid's body now. So now we're like regress into a child. We go show all the tendencies of what a child does. And so really it's just like what it's I guess it's like it's just social conditioning, I guess.
Yeah.
That really
so.
like does that to you.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's what we all are doing pretty much, just all the time, constantly. I mean, this version of me that's talking to you, honestly, actually, like, I'm at a point now where I don't change that much based on where I am. I mean, I change a little bit. Like, I'm a little more, like, extravagant and, like, obnoxiously loud around my coworkers, but that's just because the vibe of Folly Beach is, you have to be like that to be a server out there. You gotta be fun, like, loud, and I'm like that, but if I'm doing a podcast by myself, it's not going to be super loud and laughing, and because that's just not the face of me that I need for that occasion. But it is interesting when you're talking about how the conditioning affects you. Like if you're surrounded by kids all the time, you're going to have a different type of persona. And when I stepped away from Kaleidoscope for a year, working with like elementary school kids, and I only worked at Loggerheads for like 8 months straight, and my first day back to Kaleidoscope, I remember not being in the right headspace because I've been working with adults. And I just got in and I was like, what am I supposed to say to these kids? And I was like, I guess I can say whatever I want because they're like 6 years old and they'll just run with it. But like, it was weird. I had to like reboot myself to like bring that self back, and like the one that's just carefree and just like talks to 6-year-old kids, like let them do whatever they want. Or I don't know. It's definitely interesting. And I felt that side of me like as if I was hibernating. Like that side of me, I was like, hey, you gotta like get up and start doing your shit again. You were out of commission for a year, but we're back, and like turn on. It was strange. It was strange to me. But I don't know. As I grow and as we both grow, I pretty much, the more you learn, like every time I find a new video or I find a new topic or new article or something, and I learn something new, I realized that like I'm never ever gonna learn all of it. Like there's just infinite amounts of just stuff out there, and every time I feel like I'm there's a new thing, and then a new thing, and then a new thing, and it literally never is gonna end. And we think one day we'll like know it all, but like I think the more you know, the less you realize you actually know, and then you realize that we're just all out here not knowing what we're doing, and that's pretty much it.
Are you scared of growing old? Are you scared
No,
of
I'm
death?
fucking excited. Like sometimes I wish I could fast forward to 40 to see what that's like. Because I just don't. I guess I have like a weird warped version in my head. Well, one, I haven't experienced any deaths yet. Knock knock. But like I haven't experienced any deaths, so I feel like that's an experience that will affect me in some way. Obviously, affect me in some way. But I also don't view it in the same way that most people do. Like I just see it as another thing. Like another experience. To me, death is just like me going to my first professional baseball game. Like it's on the same tier for me. Obviously, there's more weight with death because that's my life that we're talking about. But I'm not scared of death. Like if someone came up to me tomorrow and was like, "Yo, I'm an alien and I know your life string ends tomorrow," I'd just be like, "Ah, fuck."
Really?
Yeah. Like I don't know. For me, it's just I don't think death is the end, so I don't care as much. I'm like, all right, well, if death happens to me tomorrow, I don't know what's next, but I guess I'll figure out then. So I don't know.
I feel like you can say that now.
I think I can say that now, but I also have thought of like when you're like super high and you think about certain things in life, and I've like fast forwarded and put myself in a predicament where I'm dying and trying to like conjure up what I would think if I was actually dying, or just in weird scenarios. I've just like put myself in them mentally to see how I would react and if that can help me understand it more. And I really I've always had a weird thing with death. I just don't get sad. I can't. It's so hard for me to be emotionally empathetic with people who had deaths, probably because I haven't dealt with death yet. But I just don't. I'm not like scared of it. I'll be driving sometimes and be like, fuck, maybe I'll just turn to this tree right here real quick. not suicidal, but I just don't view it as this crazy big thing. I don't know why, but
It was a show I was watching, and he was like this executioner. So like he punished the bad, with this organization or whatever. And he finds this drug cartel, and within the drug cartel there was this family, the daughter, the mother, the dad died, and they were like knocked up, got railed, and on drugs, on the drugs that those cartel people were selling. He handles the cartel, like kills them all, and he goes to the girl and looks at her, and she said, "Please kill me." And he was like, "Do you really want to die?" And she was like, "Please kill me." And like there was this like girl cop. They said, "No, do not kill her." And he reached for her neck and grabbed it and lifted her up and started choking her hard. And she like eventually, like at first she was struggling, then she couldn't breathe, and then she started crying. And she's like, "Please do not kill me. I really don't want to die." And I really think that really resonated with me, because I think when you were in the midst of it, like you realize that you really don't want to die. And I think that's where a lot of people's regrets start happening. Realizing that they really did not do shit with their lives. They really, like, there's still so much I need to do, so much I need to say to some people. Like, fuck, like I need to, like, finish doing something right now. Like, I'm not, like, at this moment, at this time. This is the fucking wrong moment for me to die right now. And I think everybody's scared of death, but, like, you can't run away from it. So, really, like, really all you can say is, like, shit, fuck.
yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm going to die. Like, even though you're scared, like, you just, fuck it. Like, I can't, like, what I'm going to do about it? I can't do anything about it. I just have to, like, I can't run away from this shit.
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess it's like, I'm definitely scared of death. I'm definitely scared of old. Like, I can't even fuck shit. Like, I can't even see myself old. Me going old now, it's like, fuck. Like, damn. Like, I want to remain young. But I know
Really?
I can't. Like, I know I can't do that.
Why do you want to remain young?
I never really thought about that. I guess I just enjoy myself at this present. I enjoy living. I think I hit to a point where, like, maybe I didn't enjoy living, and like now, like shit, life is good. Life is really good, and like I enjoy living life, and like realizing there'll be a point where I can't do this.
Why?
Well, if like obviously I believe in afterlife, I believe in reincarnation and stuff like that. Obviously, probably like in that sense, it goes depending like what that would be. I just don't think about, because I was like, when it comes, it comes. But I really never thought about just like right now, like I enjoy life right now, and I just don't want to see it end for me right now. Like I'm not ready. I think it's probably because of regrets. Like maybe like I just have unfinished things that I just haven't done yet, that like I don't want it to end yet, because I just,
Do you have any that come to mind, or is like you can't think of them?
not necessarily.
It's like feelings of regret.
Yeah, just feelings of regret.
Because mine's different. That's probably why I share a total opposite view of death. I have zero regret. Like sometimes I'm like, man, I could have done that, but I'm like, it brought me to where I am today, and I don't care, and so it doesn't matter to me, and I treat every experience the same. And I've thought about what you're talking about, where the girl was being choked to death and about to die, and I've put myself mentally in those positions, and I think what you were describing is a human instinct to survive. But I remember I googled this question the other day. It was like, why do we have the instinct to survive? Why must we survive? And there's no answer. It's just like we just are hard coded in our DNA to survive. So yes, if someone's choking me to death, I would try and survive. I don't want to die. Like of course I'm gonna try and live, but I'm not scared of what happens if I was to fail and be choked to death. Like I'm not scared of what would happen after. I'm very welcoming to the idea of what, like, I'm very fucking curious, actually, what happens, because I've seen so many different ideas of what happens. You know the story, the video of the egg that I showed you, where the guy wakes up and he's like, and it's like the English narrator, he's like, you woke up and you got hit by a car, and like, this is our world, and it just is not scary or intimidating to me at all, and I just am curious, and I am very happy with the now of where I am because of this new path that I'm on. I love this whole thing, and I'm even more excited about what it's going to look like in 10 years, but I have zero fucking doubt in myself. And I think that's why I'm not scared of it, because I have faith in myself. Not that you don't have faith in yourself or other people don't if they're scared, but I have zero doubt in myself for my future because of where I am now, and I have confidence in myself. So even when I get to that point of if I die by age or by whatever, I'll be good because I've put so much investment in myself, and I trust myself, and I don't have any reason to be scared of it, I guess. And that's why I don't have a weird warped perception of it. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's just how it is for me. But I've thought all the time. I mean, when I was like 15 and Mackenzie broke my heart, I was sitting right here looking outside the window going, maybe I'll just jump off this roof. Like, not that I was like suicidal, but I was like, what would happen if, like, where would I go? Just literally just curious. And I've just always had that relationship with death. And when my dogs died, I was sad, but I didn't really understand why I was sad. I was just like, oh, I guess they're not here anymore. And as I grew older and learned more about death, it just doesn't seem to be the end all. I just don't see it logically making sense that death is the end and it's bad and you have to do it all in this life. I'm just like, look, you just do what you can in this life and then you move on to the next. It might just be the exact same thing in a different warped reality where everyone lives in SpongeBob homes. That might be what happens after death. And I just have no idea, and I just don't think there's a reason to be scared of it.
So do you believe in a higher being then?
But I
sense
think it's
where, like,
us. I think it's me. I just think it's like a higher version of me. And that's why I think I just keep progressing. I think you just go to the next one and the next higher up, and you just keep growing. And that's why I think the universe is me in that sense. And it's really hard to describe that. But I think as the universe ages, it's mirroring us in the same way that, like, we're a drop in the ocean. As the drop ages, the ocean ages. As the ocean moves and the tides move, each wave moves at the same time. So as the wave goes, the ocean goes. And I think it all happens at the same time. And it's all, whoever is on top, whoever is like the number one creator or whatever, I think that person has to be outside. And this is because I've done so much fucking research on just weird shit. But, like, whoever created this whole thing had to be outside of the spectrum of time, space, and everything. Meaning that the entirety of time has to be on a line at some point, on some level of consciousness. There has to be a line where you go, okay, here's the beginning, here's the end, because I couldn't have created it unless I had the whole thing. And for me, I just think that we're just somewhere along this line, and there's no reason to be scared. Like, I just don't think an eternal hell is ever going to be a thing. So
why is there some line though? Because if you think about infinity, and like you think about the thing, I forgot what story it was called, like the hare and the tortoise, where, like, if you look at the distance from the hare and the tortoise, that gap is represented as infinity, and that gap is something that you can never.
I don't think I can get there. I think whoever created it, if it was a bigger version of me, that person would have had to have created it. But you can't create it if you're still in this like simulation or whatever you call it. Like a character in FIFA could never understand what it would be like to be me who plays FIFA, or to know the person who created the game. You had to be outside the game. You couldn't create FIFA inside of FIFA. You know, at some point there is the person who created the actual game.
And that reminds us of Westworld that we were watching.
So fucking exactly, yeah.
Like, it's the idea that, you know, you become God of the things that you have superiority over. So, like,
who's at the top? You know, that's the question we don't know. And I don't know if there is a person at the top, or a thing, or consciousness,
I think there's some, like, for me, like, wherever you want to believe in, you want to believe in. I believe in the sense where, like, there's a higher power, and, like, how you interpret that, how you want to believe, is up to you. I think we're a tree that's just interconnected, and, like, to understand the world, you have to understand everybody in this world, their culture, their religion, their, you know, beliefs and stuff, because it's just told in a different tale. And, like, a lot of people can create the argument, is religion and stuff similar? A lot of people say no. I say yes. Like, if you look at countless stories, they're pretty similar, in my opinion. And I just think, like, they're told in different stories, and it's told, and, like, there's a higher being who wanted to express it to all cultures and all, like, ethnic groups, and so, like, he told the stories in just different ways. And to understand the world, you have to collectively gather those together and to put them together, just like a piece of a puzzle, just, you know, to form a bigger picture. And so when people tell me they believe in fucking Greek mythology, or Judaism, or, like, Hinduism or stuff like that, I am accepting of it. because I just think it's just a different tell of a different story. And like, like I feel like it's very similar to my story, which is Christianity. I believe in the Almighty God. I also believe in some other shit. I believe in just a higher power. Like, I interpret it as God at this moment, just because that's just what I guess this is what I believe. Like, I grew up with.
And they're all saying the same essential thing. They're like, you'll know God when you know yourself.
Yeah.
And so we're all one, and everything is us. And so it's a difficult concept to understand. But I don't know if there's like other than curiosity, I don't think there's a need to figure it out. Like, it's just something that
believe.
you just figure it out, and you do whatever you want with that information. But like me knowing versus not knowing, I still have to go to work, and I still have to like do random stuff, which is the most difficult part, is balancing being a spiritual philosopher person and balancing, just fucking talking about who broke up with who at work, or school. And that's what we're doing here, I guess. I don't know. It's when you go down these rabbit holes, you start to question everything, and I think that's what happens. When we were talking about earlier, how you just have too much time and you just question everything, and everything starts to be in your head. And then when you're opposite, when you have zero free time, you can't even do anything you actually want to do.
It was one of my favorite animes called Code Geass, and it was about a revolution. It was about him taking over the country and eventually taking over the world. And so he created his own country for himself, in like a certain part of the story. He gave this speech, and like they all renounced their Japanese like lineage, their citizenship. But he was going to a sense like, well, like we don't have to identify with Japanese, because within our hearts, we know that we're Japanese. We accept our ideals, we accept our people, we accept our beliefs. All these, these untangible things, these external things, makes us Japanese. And like from what he was talking, like from what I gathered around, like I could be Japanese if I accept those things based on what he was saying. Like you don't need to be, just because you live in Japan doesn't just define you as Japanese. There's other stuff that defines you as Japanese. And like if I adopt those things, like, from what he was saying, like from his definition, I could call myself Japanese. But when you go to a cultural appropriation, it's like, well, you just kind of cultural appropriation because you weren't born in Japan. But then like a lot of people aren't necessarily born in Japan, but would consider themselves Japanese because they live all their life in Japan. That's all they know. So like what makes someone, like an ethnic, nationality? What like makes it? What's the ground line for cultural appropriation? Like, is there a sense where like you could call yourself a different ethnic group because like you immerse yourself in their beliefs, their culture, that's what you identify with because that's what you like socially grew up with? Or would that still be, frowned upon because of your skin or because of, where you're born,
It depends what, like, who you're asking and like why it matters if they are or not. Like if I just am like, you know what, I'm Japanese, I wouldn't give a shit like what a Japanese person, like it doesn't affect me if a Japanese person thinks I'm a clown or like you're not Japanese. I'd be like, all right. Like I don't care. So like for me, I don't know, I would just go to whatever is legal, like whatever the legal thing is for. I mean, it's either you're born there or your parents are there, right? And then like otherwise, yeah, you can do Japanese culture. I don't know if you were to just start doing, well, you are part Japanese, aren't you?
No, my family just lived in Japan.
Okay. Well, I mean, it doesn't, like, I don't give a fuck, like, but
but that's the whole thing. Like, if someone was like, "Oh, I'm a fucking tiger," how would you feel about that? When someone just said, "I'm a fucking tiger,"
I don't care. That's the thing. I don't care. It's stupid. You're not a fucking tiger, but I don't. But whatever makes you feel happy, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, but see, if something resonated in yourself that made you laugh about it.
Well, that was ridiculous. That was like, that's an animal.
But I heard someone say that before.
Oh, I'm a tiger?
Yeah, I heard someone say that.
You can say whatever you fucking want. If you're doing it because you truly feel like you're a tiger, go ahead. And like, that's fine. I'll support you there. But if you think you're a tiger because you're trying to make a name for yourself, you're trying to be this guy who like you're really not, and you're just doing it because whatever reason, that's, in my opinion, that's stupid because you're not trying to be yourself. If you being a tiger brings you closer to your true self, then that's fine. But if it's not, then there's no fucking, that's just a stupid like low level way of thinking. I think if you're just trying to be a tiger, for the sake of being different, or like people who will, now that the sexual orientation thing is blowing up and everyone gets to be whatever they want, that's fine. If it really brings you closer to your truer self and it makes you honestly feel good about yourself to be part of this group of whatever, or identify with whatever, it's fine. Go do whatever you want. Like,
doesn't majority have to accept that though?
Yeah, for if you need the majority to accept you. But if you don't care, then you don't need to.
But I don't think so. Like, for example, like if we talk about like the whole the sex movement, and like you can be wherever the fuck you want. I remember, we were in high school, and I think my friend got like, what they call it when you go like in detention or something like that, ISS.
Detention?
Or
ISS, yeah.
ISS or something.
In school
like,
suspension.
Yeah, like he got ISS. I was like, why you get ISS? And he was like, so like I was giving a girl an interview. And she said, like, she wants to be called these pronouns. And he was like, okay, I don't feel comfortable calling you this pronoun. So I'm just going to call you your name, like your legal name. Yeah. But she said, like, she felt disrespected. And, like, she told somebody, and, like, he got ISS for being disrespectful or whatever. And you look at pronouns and stuff like that, I think, in that sense, you can't like just call yourself whatever you want because majority has to accept it.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Because
I see where you're going.
Like when like you asked me to call you like something like, well, like why do I have to? Like you can't just expect me to start calling you that. Like society has to accept this as a whole. Like you can't just come like I was like so like if like you've asked anybody who is part of this movement, how many pronouns are there? There's infinite amount of pronouns.
Yeah,
like you have to create a definitive number. There has to
be.
They
haven't yet.
There has to be a definitive number because society has to collectively accept this, so we can call you this. You can't just like say like wherever and just expect me to like just go with this one. Like,
well, that's the issue with the whole movement right now is no one has an actual answer.
Exactly.
And so if you were to come to me and say, hey, I need you to start calling me whatever, I would do it because like you told me and like it's a thing between you and I.
Exactly.
But if someone's going out there saying everyone needs to call me this, then that's when I'm like, you're stepping on people's fucking constitutional rights to like whatever.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't expect everyone to just do it because you said so. But it's different if someone comes up to me and says, hi, during this conversation I'd like you to address me this way, I'd say whatever you fucking want, I'll do it. I don't care. If it makes you feel better, then sure. But at the same time, you can't just go in and expect everyone to just hop on board with whatever and then change tomorrow, and then someone comes with a new definition and then you hop on that one. At that point you're just like, all right, fuck you, like do whatever you want, I don't care, just don't involve anyone else in it, and that's why I hate that we have all these labels that we all feel like we need to jump into these categories. I'm like, look, you don't have to jump in any category. Do whatever you want, be whatever you want, call yourself whatever you want. You shouldn't need to have Sasha call you it for you to feel like secure in yourself. And I think that's a lot of insecurity there. And rightfully so, because all these people who are, openly homosexual or openly whatever, they've had to deal with this shit their whole life. And they have to deal with being discriminated. And that's probably why a lot of them are so insecure and get so fucking angry when people don't even go against it, but they're just like indifferent. Because they're like, indifference is not helping me. And you're like, look, it's not my job to help you. It's your job to help you. And so if it's fueled by insecurity, and that's why you need to be called that, that's a problem that you need to go inside and internal to fix, because that's not going to change. Even if everyone starts calling you that, you're still going to feel like shit. You're going to feel like a scared little kid who isn't getting their way on the inside, and that's not going to help you. And that's the only thing that ever really matters in the end. So if you're getting high strung because your coworker won't call you he or she or it or they, then that's your own fucking problem inside, I think, in my opinion. That's also my opinion coming from someone who never had to struggle about my identity sexually. I just think that's an internal problem. And that I think I would still hold true even if I was having to fight for my sexual orientation to be widely accepted. I still would believe that that's internal. And even if I was part of that movement, I would still say, look, I don't need you to call me that. Even if I was a they, even if I said I want to be called they, I would never ask someone else to call me they. I'm like, look, I'll call myself they. Like, I don't need you to do it for me, And I think that's the victim mentality that people take when they have to be on the defensive their whole life, and that's not really their fault. That's fucking sucks.
Exactly.
And if people had more empathy and said, look, yeah, I'm sure your life fucking has been hard. If you're trans or you're gay, you can't just walk around and hold hands with a dude if you're a dude and not have people look at you weird, because that's just people.
It's not accepting.
Yeah, they're not accepted, and that sucks for you. That does suck for you.
Like gays and lesbians, they got societies to accept them as a whole. It's mostly illegal in almost all the states.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
And I think I'm not gonna say all the states, but like it's legal in like a good portion.
Probably.
But like they got society as a whole to agree. So like
yeah, they made a bunch of noise and that's great for them. I'm all for it, and that's all I wanted. That's all I think they wanted, is to just not be looked at 6 times every time they walk around holding hands with their significant other. I think that's what they're pushing for. But I think what's happening right now is, while I think it's overboard, I think it's necessary. In the same way a year ago when you told me during the Black Lives Matter riots, you said this is necessary for us to get our equal and to get anything in the door. We have to go overboard. Otherwise you're just gonna and it's the same thing here. I'm like, look, we have to go so fucking pro everything that in 20 years it'll just flatline and we'll all be on one. Yeah. And I think that's the goal that they're going for, and I think it's the right one. We're just in that space right now. We're having to deal with all this shit, and we're the generation that is doing all of it. So yeah, great. I love it. It's awesome. And if someone asks me to call them whatever they want, I'll do it. But in the end, I don't think me doing it will help them in any way.
Same. So. Okay. And like I said, sorry I was on my phone. I was looking at what he was talking about. I actually made a post about it like not too long ago. I don't care. And so like I was looking at that post so I can read it out to like what he was talking about. And so basically I was just talking about our identities as a prison. Let's respond to each moment as it arises without being bound to a narrative of who you think you are. When one holds superiority, controlling one's narrative, when we are bound by predeterminism, thus allowing that one becomes God over us. Self is constructs those who thought they were God, created and basically showing authority and superiority. However, the truth of our existence is ever changing and infinite, as the universe is ever changing and not determined. So don't be bound by these unambiguous instructions of finite possibilities. Abandon these stories of your past self and be present and alive in the very moment. And I think, like, just going about what we're saying, like everything we've been talking about today, like, people are not present like this, and like just accepting just who they are and who they are, like, are born as. And like really, like, we are so constructed on, like, being like above one another. Other people feeling need to feel equal to each other, feeling like I can't be submissive to you. Like, we all have, like, we always want to be the top dog, or like at least equal, and I feel like just you need to be accepting of yourself.
And if everyone was, they wouldn't, because when we say, like, oh, if everyone worked on themselves it'd be great, and everyone says, well, that's bullshit, because like I'll still be looked at weird in the hallway when I hold hands with my boyfriend, and you go, well, if everyone was focused on like being their best selves and being nice, no one would be looking at you weird, and you wouldn't have to fight, and this whole problem would be eradicated if everyone just fucking minded their own business and was just chill. Like, as long as someone was getting hurt, there's no reason to, like, I don't know. I just don't think that anything will be solved. I don't think any problem will ever go away until the individual person who's feeling that way, some type of way, decides to go internal and figure out who they really are and why they feel the need to be accepted by other people. And yes, it sucks that some people are going to get discriminated physically. People are going to get yelled at for holding hands with their boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. But you literally just can't let that stop you from being who you are. And if you do, you're going to get fucked around. You're going to get fucked around your whole life, and it's not going to stop. And the only way to fix that is to truly just not be bothered. Like, look, I can't be bothered by supporters, and I can't be bothered by haters. Like, you gotta cut both of them out. Just because you can't, like, I think Gary Vee said this, you gotta sleep in the bed you make for yourself. You can't have all the highs and then get mad when the lows start happening. You can't appreciate the LGBTQ pride celebration parade, but then get mad when people talk shit about it. I'm like, look, you can't both. You either go nothing and you say, look, your opinion, your support doesn't matter to me because my support matters to me. My support is the only support that matters. Your support is great, thanks, but I don't need it. And your hate, thanks, I don't need it. That's the only fucking way anyone is going to get anything done in this world if they have insecurities. That's the only way to fix it. And that's the only way it worked for me. Once I realized that I don't need anyone else's fucking validation, that's where my life started. And that happened after Meg, because I was looking for a validation the whole time. And when I realized that, I was like, holy fucking shit. If I just don't care about other people's opinions, good and bad, supporters and haters, that's where I become what I want to be. And that's the only way, I think. There's no other way to do it. Logically, I've tried to find every other way because I'm like, look, everyone can't have this great epiphany and apply it to their life, but it's the only answer. And until you say, all right, shit, nothing will ever fucking change. Same way with parents when they say, my kid won't talk to me. I'm like, look, there's reasons your kid won't talk to you. You shut them down every time they try and talk to you, and you suck with talking and communicating with them. Here's a surefire way to fix that. You just start opening up to them, and they'll open up to you, and over the course of 10 years, you'll fix that relationship. Most people won't do that. It's right there, though. You could do it. That avenue does work toward a repaired relationship with your kid, and you can apply it to everything in your life, but most people just see the answer and they just gloss over it. They're like, there has to be a pill to fix this. There has to be a video I can watch that'll fix this for me. I'm like, no, there's not. There's just you, and take care of your own shit. That's a long ass rant.
I know. You were like, I was like,
I don't know what happened there. It just came over
strong.
me.
You were just going strong. I was like, dude, like,
fuck.
I'm speechless. I got nothing to say. Like everything you said was right, and I was like, I can't say anything because like you were just exactly right. Just like what you were talking about. You had the entire essence of that down, and like I agree, like wholeheartedly about what you were saying. And I just feel like that's never gonna happen though.
It sucks. It fucking sucks, and that's why for me, I've come to the only fucking answer is that you have to only kind of worry about yourself, because in my reality, this is the reality for me. Like, this is the one where I win. And so for everyone else, I'm like, look, the way I win is by spreading this message and doing this podcast and doing all these things for me. And in turn, I help you. But it doesn't come from me extending my hand saying, I can help you. Like, take my hand. I'm saying, here's me. There you go. And if people take it, then it helps. But if they don't and they just listen to it and move on with their life, it doesn't help them. But I can't help anyone. All I can do is give my piece. And if they can take something from it, then that's great. If not, there's something I can do, you know? There's something you can do to get someone to lose weight other than them just fucking say, all right, I got the information for you. I'm going to go apply it. And unless they take that step, it's not going to change anything from them. And it's not my responsibility to make that happen. My responsibility is to put my piece out there. Their responsibility is to do that shit and then put themselves out there and help someone else. And it's just domino and it snowballs in itself.
But I feel like nobody taught anybody how to start anything.
That's the thing. No one knows how to start. You just start. And like when you figure out stuff on the way, you realize that that's the only way anything ever gets done. Anything paved before has an end goal, has an end. There's a finish line on anything that's been done before. There's always a finish line, and you can see it, and you're like, okay, if that's what I want, I'll go down this way. But if that's not what you want, if there's no finish line that you've seen that makes sense for you, you got to go create that finish line, and it's never going to get constructed until you get there. And that's the only fucking way to make this life work. You know, at least for me, that's the only way for it to work, where it makes sense in my head.
I think that's true, but I think everybody's in this embrace slavery. Where, like, you know, like we're all like these sheep that have been conditioned to think, feel, and, you know, do certain things in a certain way. Where, like, it's really hard to break out of that.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
And, like, only like a small percentage. Like, if you think about, like, just working, 95% of American people think working 40 to 60 to 90 hours, you know, 5 to 7 times a week, you know, for 60 years of their lives and still being broke and poor, like, is the reason of being.
Yeah.
Why? Like, you know, that's 90%. That's 95% of people. So, like, if 95% of people think like that, obviously they're probably not gonna do what the fuck you're talking about.
And that's the thing. Like, that's when, like, Gary Vee talks about all the time. He's like, why do you think I tell the blueprint of success? He's like, I have the blueprint. I'm saying it every day, and I only say it and don't charge people for it because I know only one of you motherfuckers is actually going to take anything from this. And when I see that shit, I know for me, like, I'm that guy. I'm the one guy out of all 50,000 that saw that video that actually is going to do it. And that's the same aspect. That's the same, like, avenue I take with my content. Look, fucking right now, 25 people are going to see this, but probably right now, 0 of them are going to do anything about it. But that's fine because I'm just paving my own way, and eventually people will probably start catching on, I hope. And that's, like, the goal with it.
I think the biggest problem is I think one of the biggest problem is a social tactic, whereas, like, change is infinite. It's going through all of us, going through the world. And
at least one thing American people, like the American system, has realized is that, like, what if we stop change? Like, what if we made it so slow that, you know, eventually we could get anybody to do whatever the fuck we want. And that's what I think a lot of people are having a problem with. So, like, especially in the older days, if you look at cars, you know, from 100 years ago to now, obviously there's a huge change. If you look at phones from the big blocks they are to now, you know, a huge change. If you look at the educational system from the
No change.
Industrial Revolution, when typically where it started, where, you know, they sat you in single file lines, they asked you to raise your hand, they gave you a bell for lunch, they rated, you know, things from grades of meat, from A plus grade of meat to like F, you know, grades of meat. Till now, there's no change. So they slowed change so much that, you know, when people stop changing in their lives because they adopted a form of system that was systematic, that has no change. You know, we're living in a life, a systematic life, a fucked up form of some German sociologist,
Pavlov?
Yeah, like learning conditioning.
Yeah, Pavlov. Pavlov's 12 laws of conditioning or whatever it was.
We're literally
like
just
that.
in a fucked up form of that, where like we stopped change and they just started throwing people in it, and like you just gotta live in this void of not like no change.
And that's a different world, and we're still pushing that same
it's
narrative.
So slow. Like change is occurring, but it's so
and you don't
slow.
see the changes.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, maybe you can if you're that intentional with it, but most people don't see the changes.
Exactly. So like when you try to have a discussion, when people try to realize they disagree with you because they like it goes against everything they believe in. It goes their whole existence, like their being, everything they learned, and so they reject it and say you're wrong because like they don't know anything.
They don't know any better
because we stopped change, and like they're still in
That's
this
a
void.
super interesting concept.
They're still in the void that we've been thrown in.
Yeah.
That like, you know, only some people manage to wiggle out.
Yeah, and that's a perfect fucking segue into this final point because the batteries are about to die. But the idea of intentionality and change, and how I fucking this is like my prescription from all my videos. Like this is like what I push. It's like my main message is that like when you're intentional with anything you do, that's the way to win in whatever that means for you. Winning is like whatever, but when you're intentional with something, and right now I'm about to go live in the car and like road trip, so my intentionality will have to be at a max. You know, everything I do, every single decision I make has to be intentional. There's no autopilot when you're living in your car. Every decision I make, where am I going to fucking sleep tonight? Where am I going to eat? I don't have a microwave. I don't have this. I don't have that. It's going to be like back to survival level. And the reason I'm doing that, because I could just fucking fly to Colorado or the West Coast, wherever I want. I could just fly there. But in my head, I'm like, look, I need to train my brain in the same way that when I built my car, one step at a time, I'm training my brain, retraining my brain to think in a different way and to shape my reality one step at a time, to where I can literally see. 2 months ago, my car looked like every other car, and now it looks different. I can literally see that change. It's physical. I can see it. I can touch it. And that, for me, makes it easier for me to think about living in a car, because I like intentionally changed, and I'm seeing my reality change right in front of me. And when you're intentional with anything you do and change starts to happen, that creates like a fire in you and a self-confidence in you that just isn't going fucking anywhere. And the main quote, this is like the last thing I wrote here. This quote that I pulled from somewhere and I just changed a little bit is, "This too shall end." And that is to every fucking thing in this universe. I wrote that because the fucking thing about our skin, we shed our entire skin every month. And like it turns into fucking dust. So like to dust we came, whatever the Bible thing, like from dust we came, to dust we will return. Like we literally, that's everything though. Good experiences, bad experiences, good times, bad times, it all ends. And in the end, all you have is the time in between. And so the time in between, the way to handle that is by being intentional and by being fucking there and like trying to enjoy it and try and just like do whatever. But there's no fucking like path, like you were saying, like that path that was laid out for you 100 years ago that everyone's following now, that is not the only path. There are millions of fucking paths, and I just picked one, and I went, and that's the only way it works. You just pick one, and you go, I don't know what's going to happen if I don't do these other things, but I just don't want those other things, so I'm doing this. And then you just literally, you create your own fucking destiny. And it's not like a movie. You're not going to feel like the hero, you know, how you think you might feel. You might feel like at least in my head, I thought I would feel some type of way when I became the popular kid in school. I felt no different. And it's the same with this. You're going to get to a point in your life where people are going to look up to you and say, wow, I wish I was like that. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. But you're not going to feel like the hero. You're still going to feel like yourself. And you're never going to feel like that hero. And that's like so important because I fucking saw that firsthand. I never will feel that like glorified, amazing feeling of like I won other than like maybe 5 minutes where you go, oh, I did it. And then you're like, all right, what do I fucking do now? You know, like even if you won the Super Bowl and your whole thing is football, after you win the Super Bowl, you're like, fuck, now I gotta do what with my time? And yeah, so this too shall end is like the perfect just embodiment of life. You know, everything ends, everything begins, and that's why I have just such a weird, warped perspective of this world. And I mean, you do too. I don't know if you believe in that quote at all, but
I love that quote. Like, wholeheartedly, just what you like resonated with me really hard, and I really liked what you said. And I think that I probably would adopt that into like what I believe in. I probably start saying that shit to people.
I mean, it's facts, dude. When you're in a shitty place, you say, look, as shitty this is, in 10 years, just literally fast forward to whatever time makes you feel comfortable. In 100 years from now, when I'm on my deathbed, will this moment really be as big as it is? No. Zero fucking chance. When I was with Meg and I was in the dumps after we broke up and I didn't have that awareness, I really thought my life was fucking just never going to get any better. And you realize after experiences, you go, okay, they all end. All the feelings end, all the experiences end, and then new ones start. And there's just infinity amount of changes and stuff that happen in life. And that's just what we're doing on this earth, and it's lit. So,
amen to that.
Yeah, fucking amen. You want to plug anything before we head out of here?
Yeah, like I think you wrapped it up really well, and I like that ending, like how you talked about.
Sweet. Well, this podcast went fucking incredible. I didn't know what to expect at first. It started a little slow, and then we just started talking, and it just took off. So, thank you for sticking with us. I hope you have a great day. Yeah, shit. Peace.